Live Saturday.
This is the CBS Evening News. Dan Rather reporting. Good evening. China says its nationwide crackdown pulled in another 100 pro-freedom protesters today. It says the fourth of the so-called 21 most wanted fugitives pictured on government television surrendered. The propaganda mill that started churning out the big lie even before the massacre guns had cooled, today tried to sell the biggest, most outlandish lie of all. Our resident Beijing correspondent, John Sheehan, begins our coverage.
The People's Liberation Army today showed off the scene of its victory over the notion of democracy, Tiananmen Square. 24 reporters escorted for the first time to the barren, bullet-scarred 100 acres where the Chinese government claims it put down a violent attempt to overthrow the communist system.
There is no such a thing as the bloodshed on the Tiananmen Square.
General Li Zheyun, political commissar of the 38th Army, says that the soldiers only fired a few shots in the air.
It was never happened that the soldiers shoot onto the people.
With so many non-deadly methods available to you, why was it necessary to fire guns at all?
They said they will use the struggle on the square to support other movements in other parts of the country.
It was shooting and assault. The soldiers' machine guns were not directed in the air, they were directed directly at the people.
This incident never happened within the area of Beijing.
China's rulers are not the first government to try to rewrite history, but they are among the most determined. And any Chinese who values his or her freedom had better not say out loud that there was a massacre. John Sheehan, CBS News at Tiananmen Square in Beijing.
China lends itself to superlatives. The world's largest square, the year's most outrageous lie. They'd been telling it to their own people for almost 2 weeks. Today they looked foreign reporters in the eye. They did not hesitate. They did not blink. They said it again. There was no such thing as bloodshed on Tiananmen Square. Some of the reporters had been there. All had seen the pictures, spoken to eyewitnesses. But they needn't have. Today was enough. Even today you could see stains from the blood which was not shed, holes from the bullets which were not fired, treads from the tanks which did not charge. But the Chinese know something about cleaning and greening. New turf will make bloodshed as difficult to imagine here as it is on the fields of Gettysburg or Verdun. A little water clears us of this deed, said Lady Macbeth. How easy is it then? Soldiers were there today, and workers and reporters, but the square was empty somehow, vast and cold and empty, the kind of grand open space which totalitarian regimes have always found so pleasing. It seemed a lot smaller 2 weeks ago, warm, human, not empty at all, full of innocence and hopeless ideas, an end to corruption, freedom of the press, dialogue with the authorities. For one doomed moment, it was honest, warm, and human. They were alive and proud to be Chinese. Everyone felt proud to be Chinese. There will be no more stepping out of line now. The guys in gray have won the day. They destroyed democracy that night. They knew what they were doing. They did not blink. They've killed some. They will arrest many. But they cannot eliminate all the people who were in the square those weeks. They cannot erase the memory or the desire for revenge. There were people in Tiananmen Square today, but it was empty somehow. Empty and windy and cold, even though it was one of the hottest days of the year. Bob Simon, CBS News, Beijing.
2 more casualties today in China's crackdown on foreign journalists. The government ordered a reporter and cameraman from Britain's independent television news to leave the country by tomorrow. The 2 were detained Wednesday as they filmed aftermath of rioting in the western China city of Chengdu. They were accused of violating terms of their tourist visas. Canada confirmed today that several Chinese diplomats are in the process of defecting. An official wouldn't say how many. Canadian news reports indicate at least 6. There are reports today that more Chinese officials have asked for asylum in this country. CBS News White House correspondent Leslie Stahl is standing by with more on that. Leslie?
Dan, we have learned that 2 officials from the Chinese embassy in Washington have defected. They have sought political asylum in the United States. According to Chinese and diplomatic sources, the 2 are the 3rd secretary in the press office in the embassy. His name is Zhang Zhiwei, and his wife, Han Kuo-hang. She is by far the more important, since she was the secretary to the ambassador in a delicate position, privy to a lot of information. I did reach the Chinese embassy this afternoon and spoke to the press secretary, Mr. Chen, who denies the story, but he does admit that Mr. Chen and his wife asked for a leave of absence 1 week ago. White House officials refuse to comment on the story. They are doing everything they can to keep from further angering the Chinese government, already enraged over the U.S. harboring of that dissident Fang Lejure in the U.S. Embassy in Beijing. The White House did deplore those recent death sentences, Dan, but there are no plans for any further sanctions. And the White House did say that Mr. Bush wants to maintain preserved ties with this government. That, even though relations remain extremely strained, I am told that contacts have been confined to even lower level officials in China than they were just 1 week ago. Dan?
Leslie Stahl, thanks. On this date, 31 years ago, the Soviet-backed communist rulers of Hungary hanged deposed Prime Minister Imre Nagy as a traitor. Nagy told the judges in his show trial that someday he would be rehabilitated and reburied. That someday was today. Tom Fenton was in Budapest, Hungary for the Changing Times, Changing Face of Communism ceremony.
Hungarians today gave the leaders of their 1956 uprising the funeral they were denied by the communists who executed them. And they honored the thousands of other freedom fighters who died resisting the Soviets. It was more than a national funeral. It was a major political event to which the Communist Party was not invited. Survivors linked hands and swore never again to be prisoners. Hundreds of thousands of mourners heard speakers tell the Hungarian communists to give up power. The Russians were told to go home. The tone was defiant. In back of everyone's mind here are the events in China. The repression of the democracy movement there has come as a shock to the Hungarians. It reminds them that what happened in their own country in 1956 could happen again. Soviet troops and tanks crushed Hungary's brief experiment in democracy. That confirmed Soviet domination of Eastern Europe and the West's unwillingness to intervene. But last night, the Soviets were out of sight behind their embassy walls as Hungarians taunted them. "Ruskies go home," shouted the demonstrators. They repeated the 1956 slogan of a neutral Hungary. Police stood by impassively. This afternoon, as the cortege left for the graveyard with the remains of Prime Minister Imre Nagy and his colleagues, Hungarians were debating whether things have really changed.
You know, it's very dangerous for us to say something.
You are wrong. You are wrong.
Even now? Even now?
Even now.
So nothing has changed?
Nothing.
We can speak. Maybe.
So much. But they were unanimous about the support they want from the West.
56, you failed. And now this is a second chance. You shouldn't miss it. This is a time, and give us a break, and give us help.
The leaders of the 1956 uprising were given a proper burial in the same plot where they were dumped face down by the communists 31 years ago. Tonight, many Hungarians seem to be hoping that symbolically they were burying communism in Hungary as well. Tom Fenton, CBS News, Budapest.
The Soviet Union finally owned up today and admitted a nuclear accident did take place 32 years ago in the Urals, about 800 miles east of Moscow. Rumors of this had reached the West years ago. 60 Minutes did a story on it. Today, the TASS news agency confirmed a nuclear waste tank exploded at a Soviet defense plant in 1957, spewing radioactive contamination over an area 63 miles long and 5 miles wide, forcing evacuation of at least 10,000 people. TASS said 20% of that contaminated zone is still uninhabited. TASS says no one died. Still to come on tonight's CBS Evening News, correspondent Alan Pizzi on an election soap opera in the cradle of democracy, and Bob McNamara travels back in time on today's Route 66.
Somewhere there's got to be a cure for athlete's foot.
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cured my athlete's foot. It's got something the others don't. Myconazole.
There's nothing more powerful.
Hey!
I'm giving away advice, not Micatin.
Say, what you got for my athlete's foot?
Step up to the mic.
Mike?
Micatin. It cures athlete's foot. There's even a deodorant Micatin.
Then I'll take the Micatin. To go.
Step up to the cure. Step up to the mic. Micatin. Look for new economy size powder.
Come on, sport.
Smile.
We interrupt this vacation
Charge it.
for a reminder. There's a better way to go.
Here you are.
Just choose the card that actually pays you cash back for every charge. The Discover card.
Fabulous.
It pays to discover the card that pays you back.
How can you help your home sell faster? Protect the major appliances. If your real estate company can't do that, then you're not listed with the right real estate company. Because you're not listed with an ERA broker.
Where does it hurt?
Here.
For heartburn and gas, your medical answer is Extra Strength Malox Plus. Its doctor-recommended formula neutralizes more than any leading antacid. Ask your doctor about Extra Strength Malox Plus.
New testimony on Capitol Hill today in the still unfolding investigation of the Federal Department of Housing and Urban Development and into whose pockets taxpayer millions went. Correspondent Terrence Smith covered the testimony by an official assigned to keep track of the HUD money and another witness who quoted scripture while admitting she took millions.
Yes. The Inspector General of the scandal-plagued Department of Housing and Urban Development conceded today that up to $20 million may have been embezzled by as many as a dozen escrow agents. One of those agents begged a congressional committee for forgiveness.
I have come forward as one who loves the Lord in an attempt to confess to the world that I am a sinner.
Marilyn Harrell dubbed Robin Hood when she confessed this week that she took some $5 million from the sale of foreclosure properties and gave most of it to the poor, insisted on telling her story under oath, despite the advice of her lawyer to remain silent.
You're coming and testifying, and you realize that what you say here could be used against you.
Yes, sir.
Harrell recounted how in 1985 she first siphoned off the agency's money and then waited for the department's officials to catch on.
I lived the whole 3.5-year time wondering when they would, always anticipating that at any moment that they would come in.
And why didn't they come in? That's what angry congressmen wanted to know from Inspector General Paul Adams, who conducted 2 lengthy audits of the department's procedures in selling off $3 billion worth of property per year.
It's a simple question. Does HUD, as part of the process, keep a record of the amount of money that the closing agent kept?
I don't think we can provide you that level of detail. We'll check and provide for the record.
By level of detail, I want to make it clear, you're telling me you don't even know whether HUD knows how much money the government has to, in effect, pay to these people to perform the service.
That's correct, sir.
Federal prosecutors will try to answer those and other questions as part of a widening probe of the department. Attorney General Dick Thornburgh has directed all 94 U.S. attorneys to investigate the HUD offices in their regions for possible fraud or embezzlement. Terrence Smith, CBS News, Washington.
Legal maneuvers today for the coming Iran-Contra wheeling and dealing trial of John Poindexter. Prosecutors said today they intend to drop some of the key charges against the former top advisor to President Reagan and one-time supervisor of Oliver North. The reason? They expect government intelligence agencies will succeed in doing in the Poindexter trial what they did for Oliver North. That is, resist supplying certain documents claiming national security. For their part, defense lawyers for Poindexter said today they intend to subpoena President Bush and former President Ronald Reagan as witnesses.
Oh, he's not in? No, I'll call back. Thanks.
You hung up 20 seconds ago. So why is AT&T still charging you? MCI, we are the better long-distance company.
Now, Red Lobster's new 5-star shrimp sampler. 5 kinds of shrimp on one plate, just $8.95.
More for you, David Freeman.
Savory grilled shrimp, scrumptious scampi, Cajun popcorn, and more. 5 kinds for just $8.95.
More for you, Stacy Class.
A kid's meal, $1.95. Hurry.
Red Lobster, there's more for you to love.
Friday through Sunday, it's our weekend special. Steak and shrimp, just $10.95.
To my beautiful wife.
It's nice to know he still loves the way you look. And if you wear dentures, you can count on Effordent to freshen up dentures and clean away stains so well. With Effordent, all he'll notice is you.
With arthritis, there's pain. And then there's pain. For relief, there's aspirin. And then there's Anacin. The Anacin aspirin formula has more medicine than regular aspirin.
That's not relief. That's relief.
Anacin.
The threat of inflation hovered over the economy today as the Labor Department reported consumer prices jumped 0.6% in May. Food and gasoline costs pushed the index up, but other prices also rose, and the White House called the figures, quote, disappointing. Through the first 5 months of the year, inflation rose at an annual rate of 6.7%. The New York State Board of Regents today voted unanimously to ban the so-called Channel 1 broadcasts from state school classrooms. Channel 1 is a news program tailored to attract children's attention to current affairs and to sell products. Richard Schlesinger explains why the New York Regents and some other educators object to what is being sold as a good idea.
It's 10 minutes of news and 2 minutes of commercials.
Juicy fruit, it's gonna move ya.
But it's the commercials seen by students that are getting all the attention.
Ready to wipe the can? Ready as not.
Channel 1 is produced by Whittle Communications, not a news organization, but an advertising firm. The ads are targeted at teenagers, one of the group's advertisers try hardest to reach.
Corporations are using kids to sell products. They're using the fact that they're mandated to sit in school to find them.
But students and parents at the high school in Billerica, Massachusetts don't feel used at all. This school was given $50,000 worth of TV equipment for agreeing to watch Channel 1's test shows. Parents report the show changed their kids.
From home, say, did you know about this or that? Or where can I find out this? She'd get the paper more. She'd sit down for the 6 o'clock news more than she used to.
And the equipment brought this school into the TV age, allowing the students to produce their own news show.
Joseph Hazelwood, captain of the Exxon oil tanker Valdez.
It now enables us to broadcast whatever we want, whenever we want, to every student in the building.
It's time for this country, if they want that kind of curriculum to be in the schools, if they want that technology, then I think we really need to look at what the cost is and pay for it, but not make our children pay for it by watching commercials.
Today's pop quiz.
But school budgets nationwide are tight, and the students at Billerica High see nothing wrong with Channel 1 and its sponsors making money.
We're learning from this program. Let them make the money,
I mean, if they're making money, that's good business for them. And if we learn something in the process of them making money, then we've gained as much as they have.
The protests about commercials in classrooms have already had an effect. Broadcast executive Ted Turner, who was planning his own commercial news show for high schools, decided at the last minute to pull the ads and give the show to schools free of charge.
It wasn't going to be a profit center for us anyway, we didn't figure. Why not go ahead and get the program off the ground with everyone's support?
Educators say they need all the help they can get from private industry, but schools must now decide what to accept and at what price. Richard Schlesinger, CBS News, Billerica, Massachusetts.
Golf statisticians say the chance of what happened today at the U.S. Open golf tournament in Rochester, New York is 1 in 8.7 million. Doug Weaver, Mark Wiebe, Jerry Pate, and Nick Price each fired a hole-in-one on the 167-yard par 3 sixth hole. 4 aces, all within 2 hours.
It's a question of taste. If you had your pick of 2 cereals, both high vitamin cereals, would you pick the one with just one kind of flake Or Kellogg's Just Right with 3 different kinds of flakes, plus hearty rolled oats, plump raisins, sweet juicy dates, and crisp crunchy nuts. You're not alone. 2 out of 3 people pick Just Right over the leading high-vitamin cereal. In a world of high nutrition, Just Right is an answer to the question of taste. Kellogg's Just Right with fruit and nuts or crunchy fiber nuggets.
Pain. Pulsing, throbbing pain. There is a wonder drug for pain doctors themselves take more than extra-strength Tylenol or Advil. More doctors take Bayer. For pain, Bayer is the wonder drug that works wonders.
I stained this last year, and it's fading already. Why?
You didn't use Water Seal Stain, the only stain with Thompson's Water Seal. It seals water out and protects against fading, so the next time you stain won't be for a long time. Thompson's Water Seal Stain.
You're looking at an accident that never happened. Because as America's largest insurer for workers' compensation, Liberty Mutual has done more to help prevent injuries on the job than any other insurance company. Caring for people is why America believes in liberty.
Great view, huh?
America believes in liberty. Liberty Mutual Insurance.
The State Department tonight alerted American travelers of recent West German warnings concerning the Frankfurt airport. The Germans say airport security is at a high level in connection with the investigation of a terrorist group active in the area. Almost on the eve of make-or-break elections, controversial Greek Prime Minister Papandreou was divorced today from his American-born wife of 38 years. This leaves him free to marry a young flight attendant who was a major but far from the only issue in the colorful campaign. More about Sunday's important vote from Alan Pizzi in Athens.
The Greeks invented voting 3,000 years ago. It's doubtful the creators imagined it would come to this. Massive rallies climaxed an election campaign that has all the elements of a soap opera. Prime Minister Andreas Papandreou's love affair with an airline stewardess half his age has become a national obsession. Opposition supporters have brought out a book filled with racy pictures of the lady. Papandreou counters by openly flaunting his mistress. The affair never comes up when he exhorts the party faithful, and for many his personal life doesn't matter. But his jilted American-born wife believes many women voters will rebel.
I think the whole crux of the matter was the manner in which this was brought about. The style, or the lack of style, if you want to put it that way.
But that's not Papandreou's only problem. The opposition has hammered at alleged government involvement in the embezzlement of $200 million from a Greek bank. The mistress and the money are virtually the only subjects of debate in streets where political argument is a life force. 25 parties are contesting this election. A month ago, Papandreou was on the ropes. He's fought back by accusing his main rival of wartime Nazi sympathies.
Papandreou has shown that he can get away with murder. He's a very wily politician. He's a very good tactician.
Tonight, he looked anything but a loser. Observers here predict that no one will win a clear majority. If Papandreou wants to hang on to power, they say, he'll have to make a deal with the leftist alliance. And Greece's real problems of inflation and a fragile economy will continue to be ignored. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Athens.
Good friends and good food, but my stomach aches. My party, and Mylanta too.
Double strength Mylanta 2 with nearly double the acid neutralizing power of any leading regular strength brand.
Because my life takes Mylanta too.
Because there's a man in Chicago planning his retirement this year. Because there's a family in Boston who hopes to send their kids to college someday. Because there's a doctor in New York looking forward to the day she'll open her own clinic. Because every investor is different, with dreams all their own. Dean Witter measures success, one investor at a time. Dean Witter, a member of the Sears Financial Network.
Feel your oats with Post Oat Flakes. Feel your oats with Post Oat Flakes. Golden toasted flakes with whole grain oat nutrition and a crunchy oat taste. Feel your oats with Post Oat Flakes.
Today's Monday, coming off a rough weekend.
Saturday, I painted the den and came up aching, so I took aspirin. Sunday, I cleaned the attic. More aches, more aspirin.
If you take aspirin more than once a week, make your aspirin Tri-Buffered Bufferin. It's 100% aspirin, plus 3 buffers that help protect against stomach upset plain aspirin can cause.
I sure needed it this weekend.
Tri-Buffered Bufferin, in tablets and caplets. If you take aspirin more than once a week.
Sometimes we're careless of our history. We toss it away for the grass to cover. But then the music reminds us of a time when despair led to hope, and hope led to recovery. And then at least some of us figure it may be a time to slow down a little, take it easy, and bring a piece of our history back to life. Bob McNamara has a case in point.
It is a ghost road in much of the West today. Old Route 66 barely ruts through the sagebrush. The interstates and turnpikes putting it out to pasture in New Mexico and Arizona. And towns along 66, some almost ghostly too.
We lost 4 filling stations. We lost a couple of restaurants. Traffic just stopped, just come to screeching halt.
But now they're trying to revive Old 66 like Oklahoma just did, like New Mexico, Illinois, and Arizona have done. And tourists are trickling back.
You can buy a piece of pie from the person who baked it. You can get your change from the shop owner. You can talk to people who care about you a long way from home and make that felt.
For 2,200 miles, Chicago to California, its magic numbers spanned 8 states and 3 time zones. In the 60s, the route found fame as a television series, but its gritty glory came earlier.
Never had my family stuck out in the road. Never had to lose everything I had in life.
It was the road of the Jodes and the grapes of wrath, the Okies' flight from the Dust Bowl. A poverty parade to California that Angel Delgadillo saw in real time.
I saw those poor people that us as kids, we would laugh, oh, here comes a poor Okie, he's only got 1 mattress. It gives me goose pimples to talk this way because those people were struggling.
Today, though it's old tourist traps, its beckoning bedtime neon and other road culture remnants are fading. There's still a rhythm to Route 66.
Well, you go through St. Louis, Joplin, Missouri, Oklahoma City is mighty pretty, you see. Amarillo, Gallup, New Mexico.
Truxton, Arizona, Needles, California. People remember 66 as a kinder road.
They're just more like a family then. Now, nobody's got time for nobody. You know that yourself.
Speedways, prontos, and minute lubes now, and hell-bent on 600 miles a day on credit cards and cruise control, the interstates are a race from one plastic place to another. Few stops anymore where service wasn't grudgingly given most of the time.
I never did enjoy fixing flats or washing a car.
No?
I thought if a guy went down there around through a mud hole, he's the guy who ought to have to wash it off there, and not me.
Today, as interstates avoid the heart of America like the plague, know that in Stroud, Oklahoma, Junior Owens still does $4 haircuts, that a wigwam's waiting tonight in Holbrook, Arizona, that Laguna, New Mexico hasn't changed much in 100 years, and that the road that linked them all is still there too. Bob McNamara, CBS News on Route 66.
And that's tonight's CBS Evening News. Dan Rather. Susan Spencer will bring you the news tomorrow. Connie Chung will be here Sunday. I'll see you Monday. Good night.
Nashville